All right, so we are live.
Perfect.
All right, guys, thank you for joining us today. This is the Angry Prepper, and this is Magic Prepper, as promised.
How's it going?
So, first and foremost, guys, how do we look and how do we sound? So, remember, I got to give them like 20 or 30 seconds to respond.
Got it. I don't know if I want to know how they think we look, but I'll take the sound part.
Right. So, this, the one thing I hate about this is. Okay. Now, I know that my problem today was I thought I set up the live stream, and then when I got back, I looked at it and I was like, holy shit. It wasn't set up, so it was a bit late. So people are going to trickle on.
That's fine. I think we'll be here for the long haul, so no worries.
Yeah. All right. Look good, clear, fine, good, good. Okay. Hello, everyone. 5x5. All right. So we're good. All right. So, as you guys see, this is a Magic Prepper, and it's
How's it going?
it's the Angry Prepper. So today's interview, if you will, is pretty much going to be not an open discussion, but an open interview. Basic questions, like I have with the last three guests. I guess when I get them on again for a second or third time, questions are going to ramp up, and then we're just going to mull over what's been going on in the United States. Now, I don't know where you're from, so where are you from?
So right now I'm actually living in the western part of North Dakota.
Okay.
Out here in the oil field. So I moved here in 2018. I lived in California for 10 years before that, and then I grew up before that up in Florida.
Okay, very good. How's it going up there in North Dakota, by the way?
Completely different landscape than what you're seeing around the rest of the country. A lot of people actually have come out here to visit and said, this is like a different country, the way it kind of looks right now, because no one's wearing masks, there's no social distancing, all the businesses are open, and most of the population here is very nonchalant about the whole concept of, the pandemic.
Okay. Well, that's very good. Because here, it's again, it's a little insane. The whole mask thing is getting carried away here in New York, New York City. That is, like NY Prepper said, outside of New York City, you're not running into that problem as much. But here, the fear mongering with the mask is just overboard. And
Right.
I get it. If you're immune compromised or whatever, yes, you should be wearing a mask. But everyone wearing a mask is a bit of a overstretch, overreach, if you will. But nonetheless,
It's asking a lot for the average person, to suddenly change their entire routine and lifestyle.
well, here's the thing. The thing is that people are complying, so that it's just not like Cuomo wants 100% compliance with something that, I mean, you can't get 100% of the city to do good things. You want them to wear a mask? It's insane. And
Right.
I'm like, I'm done with it. And listen, I get it on the train, but to force people to wear it is a bit much. You give them the option, it's fine. Forcing them is stupid. What's going on, Dan H? So listen, it is what it is for now. Hopefully, it doesn't stick around as long as I think it is, but we'll see. So,
We will see.
all right. So let's get it started. How long have you been prepping?
So, it kind of depends. I'd say I've been more serious about prepping for around the last 10 years or so.
Right.
Especially back around 2010, 2011 is when I first started getting into the idea of being further prepared than just having your basic emergency supplies. But growing up in Florida, our whole family was prepared once a year for hurricane season. So it was kind of drilled into my head to say, hey, let's go get water, batteries, flashlights, gas, all that kind of stuff. And then I was also in Boy Scouts at that time too. So a lot of my preparation background probably came from there. And then once I got older and established myself on my own, I think I got a little bit more serious about it.
Very good. Listen, it's amazing. You know what? Even not as a kid. Well, yeah, I would say as a kid, I was very always wanting to know how I was going to get my shit out of my house if there was a fire. Because in the 80s, New York City was burning. There was a fire. You could throw a rock and hit a building that was on fire, right? A lot of the fires, to be fair, were vacants, but nonetheless, there were fires everywhere. And I was always wondering how to get my stuff. But that was as a kid. And now I'm a grown adult. I realize you can't take everything with you, Suffice it to say,
true.
some shit you're going to have to leave behind,
Yep.
All right, so what inspired you to prep, if you will?
Well, I think a lot of the inspiration just came from the idea that a lot of events that are out of our control could happen at any time, And I think at the time, like I said, I got more serious about it maybe 2010, 2011. It seemed like there was a lot of opportunity for turmoil, And growing up, I was in high school when 9/11 happened, right?
Right.
So growing up through that time and kind of seeing how things can change in an instant kind of just made me feel there was like that need to be prepared for something that I might not even expect to happen. And I will say that media has definitely helped, especially when I first started. I'm not gonna lie, watching the news, reading different reports, and then watching things even when it comes to entertainment has kind of helped build ideas to try to be more prepared about things that are out of our control.
Well, right. I mean, that's a good way of actually going about it. So I actually wanted to ask you this question. This is not on the list. What is the biggest threat to your area as far as disasters go?
So our area is pretty interesting. It's got two different things going for it that are a little different than your average state or region. One thing is that it gets extremely cold here. And every winter, there's a time where it gets to -30 or -40 degrees. And I mean, there's stories every year of someone passing away in their car because they broke down on the side of the road and it just got too cold. And it's an extreme amount of cold that isn't something the average person has to prepare for. And so if there is any kind of prolonged event that it causes that cold cycle to stick around longer than usual, it could cause a lot of problems. I mean, even just keeping the power on in the homes during that kind of a cold snap is hard, and that's what most people out here rely on for their heating. So that would, to me, would be one of the most common things that could happen out here. One of the other factors for me is that it would be a strategic target in case there was any kind of a armed conflict. And I say that because we produce a lot of oil out here, so it's a huge energy sector, as well as the fact that a lot of the Minuteman missile silos are actually stationed out here in North Dakota. So if another foreign military wanted to be strategic about, a strike, this wouldn't be the worst area to consider, as it would cripple our ability to produce energy, and it would cripple our ability to have a counterattack.
Roger that. So, again, you're from North Dakota, right?
Yep, that's where I'm at, yep.
All right, Kevin R., Magic Preppers from North Dakota. So, do you have a wife and kids? A wife
Yes.
and kids. Okay.
Yep.
Now,
Got a wife and 3 kids.
how are they adapting to being out there in North Dakota?
I think the initial transition was difficult because we went from kind of like the eastern Bay Area of California
Right.
out to rural middle of nowhere North Dakota. The only thing that kind of saved that was that before we lived in the Bay Area, we lived in a small town in the mountains in California. So the small town mentality and everything else is something we already had. It's just the difference of landscape and the difference of amenities. The largest big box store, and I'm talking even Walmart, is an hour away from me.
Wow. Okay. That's I mean, listen, it doesn't suck as a drive, but then again, here in New York City, you're used to everything being right there, or should I say, in a urban area, you're used to everything being like right there. So now a drive.
Yeah, I mean, you can walk just about anywhere, I'm sure, from where you're at.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, listen, with us though, Walmart is probably 20 minutes away or so, roughly. So, what is the difference between an urban prepper and a, I guess, rural or country prepper?
So, and this is something that, like, your input is really valuable on. But in my opinion, I would say that our biggest differences is going to be the necessity of bugging out would be a lot higher for you than it would be for me, depending on what's happening, right? like the idea of actually having to leave your location for a longer period of time is more likely if you're in an urban environment than if you're in a rural environment. Just in the sense of like unrest and full-on SHTF scenarios. Now, if we're talking about like natural disasters and wildfires and things like that, of course, it'd be the reverse, as the urban areas are better protected against those kinds of elements. I also think that, for me at least, the ability to build community in smaller groups that are easier to trust, I guess, might be something that's easier to develop in a rural area, just because of the limited amount of people that you have to kind of rely on your neighbors more. So, and those are two of the biggest. And one of the other ones I would think would be maybe like water sources. Out here, most people live on wells. You can access your well water even if there's no power. There's different ways you can do that. And that's something that I have access to. But when I lived in more urban areas, it was all city water. So if I ran out of water, everyone else did too.
Okay, well, running out of water sucks, but like you said, you have a well, right?
Yep.
Right. We have the New York City main system. If that shuts down, we're pretty much screwed. It's probably why we all pack water away like we do here in the East Coast, or sorry, that live in the city. So, regards to prepping, what is your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is a situation where I can't take care of my family. And what I mean is when you have 3 young kids and you have a wife who has to make sure that they're taken care of and nurtured, if there is a big scenario that happens that requires, leaving our home or something along those lines, taking care of the family becomes a lot more difficult and a lot more dangerous. And, a long-term event where we have to stay locked in our house, stay where we are, that's a little bit easier to fathom. But if anything ever puts us out of our home and puts us even worse, maybe on foot or on the street, then it's a lot more dangers that come that way. And of course, being a family man, it makes you want to prioritize their safety over yours, and that's a difficult decision to make during those kind of times.
No, you're definitely right about that, man. Because it's funny if you were single and on your own, and you were prepping, you would take your chances on a lot of shit, But once you introduce kids into the picture, the game changes,
100%.
It changes a lot. So now, I'm assuming because you live in North Dakota, you own firearms.
Quite a few.
All right. So, what is your favorite go-to for protection?
So, well, honestly, I advocate for a handgun. When it comes to self-defense, protection, even for home defense in many ways, I find myself most comfortable with a handgun. It's something about the fact that it feels like a natural extension of my body,
right,
and the fact that it's so portable and easy to maneuver. You don't have to worry about cutting corners. You don't have to worry about clearance. You can have a handgun just as easily as you could anything else in your hand, like your phone.
Right.
So for me, if I have a light and maybe a higher capacity magazine, I feel pretty well armed with a handgun. And I actually have a video about how if you only had one firearm, for me, I would choose a handgun because it's concealable, it's easy to carry on you. You can still use both hands, have it in a holster. You don't have to sacrifice really anything to still have it with you.
Well, thank you for that, because I have no clue when it comes to firearms, because look where I live.
Fair enough.
Shithole New York City. Now, someone asked an interesting question, so I'm well, they didn't ask the question, they made a statement about physical fitness, PT. Where do you think in the prepper scale does that lay? From 1 to 10.
It's actually something that I have been kind of throwing around for a while now. And basically, I think it's extremely important. And I've actually been taking steps to lose weight and to exercise more and to build up my strength and endurance, because if there is some type of an emergency, that can get you to that next mile, whereas somebody else might have to give up, Right. And I also consider additional factors like having to carry equipment and supplies, not just for myself, but for 4 other people, and having to even possibly carry children, when there's something bad happening, kids tend to panic and they freeze, kind of like a deer, And there's a lot of times where you might have to drop what you have that's important and pick up your children. And there's a lot of reasons why I think physical fitness is really important. And it is something that, as a community, I think we all can do better on, because there's no level of physical fitness where you say, all right, I'm there, I'm done now, we did it. I'm now magically fit and no one has to exercise again, right?
I wish, man.
Although it is fun on YouTube in the comments section, how this is where I found out how out of shape I was, That's where the trolls come in and they like to let you know, like, you're extremely out of shape, you're super fat, and you're going to die on day 3,
Okay, it's funny. The thing about the whole physical fitness, it doesn't matter what prepper does the video. It's the lowest scoring video in anyone's video cache, Because the problem is, preppers don't want to talk about it. They don't want to, a lot of guys, they're relying on their guns and their knives and crossbows, whatever the fantasy bullshit. But, I guess a lot of guys have never trained with a gun, because you still need stamina to shoot. You still need stamina to get into it, It's not just, pew, pew, pew. It's pew, 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 run, move, dodge here, go behind this, run, retreat, advance. There's so many different things that involves physical fitness with shooting a gun. Never mind if you have to bug out or you just have to do the day-to-day chores to keep yourself ahead of the game in a shit the fan scenario. No one wants to talk about it. It's almost as if it's taboo. It's just the strangest thing in the world. I think
a lot of people, I think people tend to feel like they're going to offend somebody. Maybe somebody isn't in good shape, or somebody doesn't have good physical fitness, and some people do have limitations on their health that doesn't allow for that. But I think there's a thought that maybe those people will be offended by bringing up the subject, whether or not they are as fit as they should be, or whatever it is. But I think just talking about it as a goal and as something that we can strive to be better at, doesn't really necessarily hurt anybody. And I definitely feel, I could do much better at it. Not gonna lie.
Well, it's funny. Like when I brought up the whole physical fitness thing, and one part of me was like, "Who's this going to offend?" And the other side of me was like, "I don't give a shit," because the
I had a feeling you were going to say something like that.
The bottom line is your health is paramount in a situation like that. And if you're fat and your belly hangs over your belt, hits you in the knees when you move, you don't have, and this is a lot of people, this is not even a fat thing, this is just in our age range, right? And I'm pretty sure you're younger than me, but let's say 40 and older, the mobility dissipates and everything you do hurts, and you have to stay at the very least mobile, and your core has to stay strong. And just people don't want to hear that. They're just like, well, I got a gun, I won't have to run. Well, if the guy runs circles around you, your fucking gun's useless. The guy tires you out, it's useless. It's just so many things that goes along with being physically fit. And getting into a gunfight, I don't understand why it's such a pushback. But listen, it is what it is. I'll continue to hopefully, because even Canadian Prepper talks about it, from time to time. He talks about it more than most of us. And it's just you like you said, you see the comment section, and people were like, well, bullets are not going to bounce off your broad chest. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, how did that? Yes, and we get it. No one's bulletproof, but nonetheless, I'm 1,000% sure a Navy SEAL who's physically fit and knows how to shoot is going to outgun any one of us, regular dudes in a heartbeat.
Anytime. Well, and I also think there's sometimes the opposite misconceptions too, and I think you could probably relate to this. I'm 6'3". I'm 225 pounds. I'm not a small person, right? But there's a misconception that my bug out bag should only weigh 25 pounds, because otherwise I'm going to die under the weight of my own bag, right? Things like that are also brought up as if each person is under the same limitations as the next, and as if each person's physical fitness is the same as the next person's.
Right.
To me, a ratio for a bag for me could go up to 50, 60 pounds, and it's not going to put the same stress as it would on someone the size of my wife, you know?
Right.
So that's just something else that's like the other way around that I see a lot of too, where people, you know, want to tell you exactly what you can or can't do, even though they don't realize, you know, your different, you know, stature.
Well, that was the one thing I always talked about. I tell people as a guideline, you start at 20% of your body weight. Obviously, if you can handle more, you go a little heavier. If you can't handle that 20%, you go down lower. Because
Right.
it's amazing how like people think. For example, there was a guy in my group, prepper group. This guy had the only bag in the. We do bug out weekends, right? So he had a bag. The shit had to weigh 80 pounds. He was going off his old Marine Corps days, and he was hurting. He was hurting. He didn't come to the realization that he's not young anymore, right? And that this is, you know, this is not the place he wants to be if he had to run. If we had to run, he would have to dump it, right? The other thing about like bug out bags and being too heavy is if you have to run, if your bug out bag is, you know, again, heavier than you thought it was, and now you got a boogie, you can't. That's why now, like at the purpose of again listening to SEALs or Special Forces guys, I keep my bag super light, skill based, and like, again as light as possible. So if I have to move with it, I can move and not dump it. Hopefully, you know.
Right.
Granted, listen,
100%.
if you're in a shit scenario and you have to dump it, you have to dump it. But you know, the object of the game is not to dump your back. You know, keep it on your
And you
back.
can always shed pounds too, so that's a good thing too. If you do overpack, at least you can dump.
True. People do that all the time on the what's that trail called over here? The Appalachian Trail. They
Yep.
they go there with all of this shit on their back, and then they realize like 5 miles in, holy shit, my bag's too heavy. And they say it around like the 5 to 10 mile mark, you'll see all this dumped gear. You know, and there's like a crew
Yep.
that comes in and collects this shit, and then they take it back to where it is supposed to take it, and it's like a free old bin. You know, you go, oh man, this is a nice tent, this is a nice this, and you pick out of there because people who are ill prepared pack too heavy. You know, you see the
Yep.
same thing out of the Pacific. What is that? The Pacific Coast Trail, that the one on that runs along California, Oregon, and Washington, or Washington, Oregon. There's a trail over there. People do the same exact shit. So, do you have an EDC kit?
Yeah. So my EDC, basically the bag for me on an EDC is actually like a get home bag because the only time I really need to access it is if that's the case. And where the way I work, sometimes I'm about an hour away from my house.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a chance that there could be something happening that requires me to hoof it back home, you know? And when it comes to my everyday carry gear, I mean, that's all the way from, you know, knife, flashlight, multi-tool, a concealed carry weapon, and just a lighter, which is something that was recently added thanks to a subscriber who just commented one day, and I thought, that's actually a good idea. I don't smoke, so I didn't carry a lighter, but having combustion is huge. So, you know, I used to work with a company called EDC Specialties, and I helped start it from the ground up,
Okay.
and they're still operating. And so, doing everyday carry stuff was kind of almost like my job for a little while. So I definitely make sure I always have it with me.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny about the lighter. I was sort of dead against the lighter myself, just trying to start a fire as natural as possible. But then I went to Dave Canterbury Survival School, and I was like, that makes sense. He's like, you use this for an emergency. He said, you get the fire started the natural way as possible, magnifying glass, bow drill, ferro rod. He goes, but if you're in a jam, he says, you'll use a lighter. So someone asks a question. Usually I try to leave all the questions for the end, but I am curious as well. Why is your title the Magic Prepper or Magic Prepper?
So this is basically starting YouTube. I'm trying to find a decent name, right? And I'm trying to figure out a couple different things. You know, keeping it simple, making sure it's direct to what the channel's about, and then trying to pertain it to something about myself, right? And magic, first off, has a definition that sounds a lot like what survival is. You know, it's basically making something change in a way that almost seems impossible into something else. And I feel like when it comes to survival, that's what we do a lot of times. You know, being able to build a shelter out of nothing, being able to start a fire in a wet environment, you know, being able to find food somewhere that looks like it's empty. Like all those things are skills that almost kind of reflect that definition, you know, of trying to change the course of events in your favor, basically.
Okay.
And then I also grew up playing Magic the Gathering, to be honest. So that was kind of part of one of my hobbies, you know, and I thought, you know, it's something I thought might be interesting to at least, you know, entertain the idea of at some point. I even have a video where I shot some of the cards just to have a good time.
Okay.
But since then, you know, I've just focused solely on the preparation aspect, and yeah, you know, it's just something that kind of stuck with me through when I first started Boy Scouts, preparing and everything else. That was also kind of part of that equation.
All right. Very good. That's actually interesting. So someone just asked, please tell us why your name is Angryprepper. That's from Sophia. I'll answer it real quick. It was way better than the on-the-nose black prepper, and chocolate prepper sounded too, you know, I don't know, just sounded weird. So one of the guys calls me angry at work because I snap at a lot of stupid things. So there it goes, the Angry Prepper. Nonetheless, I don't get that angry anymore, but it's just catchy, so it stayed.
I think it fits, man. It kind of sets a tone for your channel a little bit, you know, because when you have those, like, this is going to be harsh videos, we already know what we're getting into, you know?
People are like, oh boy, here it comes, you know?
Yeah, here we go again, you know?
And someone said, they were like, well, your last video wasn't that harsh, you were just stating the obvious. I was like, yeah, you know, I mean, listen, you can't come out all the time, you know, with like, I guess the piss and vinegar kind of deal, you know?
Right.
It gets old. So you switch it up. And plus with the last video with the BLM thing, it was just like, you have to say it without being an asshole about it, you know? And I don't mind being an asshole, but that particular video needed to be said the way it was said, you know? So, I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you have a bug out bag?
Yeah, I've got the get home bag and I've got an inch bag for, you know, when you're never coming home. The I'm never coming home bag feels more like a storage bin for a bunch of high quality survival gear, basically.
Okay.
It kind of feels like my one go-to spot where I know I have everything, but the likelihood of having to use it is low. The only time I would caveat that is if they were talking about like the wildfire situation on the West Coast right now, which I have had a situation before when I used to live in the mountains in California, where my bug out bag was, or my never coming home bag was in my vehicle ready to go because at any moment they were going to tell us we had to evacuate. So I could see having that for those reasons, having it for a hurricane or something along those lines. But when it comes to the idea of using it in the sense of bugging out forever and never coming back to your house, I think it's one of the least likely scenarios for us, at least. But I'm still going to have it because that could still happen, you know. And I think a lot of people have even said that they don't even have a bug out bag because bugging out is suicide, or, you know, bugging out is the last option. But for me, you know, I still want that option in case it arises.
Well, you know, exactly. The people like, oh, you know, you don't understand the rules of bugging out. I said, I understand the rules. I understand that you don't want to be out there. You know, I understand that you want to be in the comfort of your home, and your home provides a little bit of a protection. But because I live in this tinderbox of a building, one fire from somebody downstairs could screw this whole building up. You know, we could have a bad day. So that's why I keep a bug out bag at the ready. Nate, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Thanks. So, you know, it's just a backup. That's all it is. And I wish people would, you know, realize that it's just a backup. It's not a definite. Building a bag doesn't mean you're gonna run out the fucking door as soon as you get it built. You know.
Right, exactly.
So a couple announcements. First announcement is for those of you watching. This is Magic Prepper. If you came in late, head over to his channel and subscribe to him. He is the kinder version of me, right? So he's not as angry. And While you guys are on here, there are 709 viewers. If you guys can get the like up, hit the like button or the thumbs down. You choose whatever makes you happy. It helps with the algorithm. And I was supposed to have a commercial today for the two freeze dried food companies that I'm in an affiliate program with. But fuck it, I'm not in the mood. So I will mention it in my next live stream. I promise. But today's not the day. So in case anyone was waiting, and if anybody is interested in the freeze dried food with the code and deal and all that bullshit, do me a favor, email me at angryprepper@gmail.com. I'll give you more information that way, because I was just too lazy today to actually write anything out. So that being said, being that you live in North Dakota, what would be the point where you bug out?
Okay, so for me, what I've been considering is obviously there's natural disasters at some point that could easily do that, and I mean that's pretty much the same for anyone around the country, I assume. But for us, I would say, especially when we're seeing some of the way the country's behaving lately, we would definitely bug out if our home was targeted in any way, because let's be honest, arson gets you out of a house easier than just about anything else. And I would say that would be probably the number one reason why we would have to literally just commit to bugging out, is if our house was targeted in some kind of a malicious manner.
Well, very good. Sophia. Yeah. Sophia, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Again, being that you didn't have to, but thank you. I appreciate it, guys. Again, whoever donates, I appreciate it. I really do. But again, we're rounding this curve, and we need to stay focused on prepping. So whatever money you were thinking of donating, do yourself a favor. Take that $5, $20, $10, whatever it is, and go get yourself more canned goods, because this shit's getting it's getting real. It just sucks that we're getting closer to the bullshit, whatever it is. If Trump wins the election, the country's gonna burn. If Trump doesn't win the election, the country's gonna burn. It's like, it's either way. It's it's gonna burn. Now, what would be your... Yeah, you know what? Fuck that question. Let's go on to something else. What would be your main... what is your go-to communication device for a Shahid Safan scenario?
Honestly, right now, it's just my Baofeng UV5R. Okay. I don't have a good ham radio set up right now because I'm not licensed and I haven't invested in something yet. I did see that there's I don't know if it's a newer company or not, but there is a company, I believe it's called Amendment 1, and they make ham radios that are in 50 caliber ammo cans.
Oh, shit.
So they're kind of just like ready to rock right out of the can. And I think it's called Ham in a Can. But it's pretty cool, actually, and I'm definitely thinking about picking one up. I want to take a ham operator license course so I can get that out of the way. But I know what you were saying in your live stream last night. Same reason I haven't been able to do it yet myself. Jumping into that head first, trying to absorb all that information and go through the training and everything else. It definitely is a certain type of commitment. And as important as I know it is, it's still that much of a commitment. So I just want to ease myself into it. With the Baofeng right now, I can at least monitor chatter on different channels. You can actually hook it up to your computer and find all the channels relevant to your area, so that's good. And then for just team-based communications, using standard two-way radios for now with limited channels that are legal to broadcast on is something I have as well, just as another option. So that way, if I need to use those without it being to the point where operating illegally on a ham radio isn't necessary, then I have those as an option as well.
Very good. So the Baofeng radio, which one do you have again? What was the model?
The UV5R. It's one of the most popular ones. It can pretty much access all the different channels and comms that you need. It's very small. It's handheld. You can get a lot of different accessories for it. So they're relatively budget friendly too. You can get them for about $40 or $50. but learning how to use them is a different story, and
Right.
then at the same time, getting your license to operate them as a broadcaster is required. So that's what I'm starting with for now. I'm working on getting the ham radio itself as well.
That's this one, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, mine's just more compact than that one, so I don't know which model that is, but
I got the extended
those-
battery.
oh, that's the battery. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
All right.
So, and honestly, like for mine, at least from playing around with it, with what I've been able to figure out so far on my own, it seems capable, and it gets me into the different channels that I want to monitor, without issues. So, so far that's a good starting point, I think. And then you just move forward into something a little bit more substantial and take it from there.
Okay. All right. The reason why I don't get into it, because it's boring. I fall asleep at the thought of taking this class. But, again, because shit's getting real, I have to suck it up, shoot coffee into my veins and call it a day. So, what would your, let's go, realistic bug-out vehicle be?
Well, that's actually something that I am not 100% on right now, just because right now we have two vehicles, and my wife has a small SUV, right? But it fits the kids in it well. There's extra space in the cargo area. It's fully enclosed, which I think has some. I guess I would say I think having something fully enclosed is better in a lot of ways,
Right.
because everything's accessible from within the vehicle, as opposed to my truck, which we also can fit the kids in, and we can get our whole group in, but then everything else is in the bed of the truck, which is not accessible from the cabin, and it's not necessarily protected from the elements the same way. So the truck can carry more gear, the truck can do more things when it comes to even something as basic as hauling firewood or something from a campsite and back or whatever it might be. But the SUV has the ability for you to never leave the interior of the vehicle if you need to access your gear. And I think there are situations where that might be relevant,
Right.
So
Okay.
I guess it would just depend on what's happening, and what the plan is. If we're trying to get out of Dodge, but we're just leaving to another populated area, then, the SUV most likely. But if we're trying to head out to the wilderness for some reason, then I feel like the truck might be a better option.
Well, at least you have the options, right? You have
Yeah.
you have two different options. That's very good. Merry Christmas 2.0. Thank you for the donation. I actually like that handle. That's pretty cool.
Well, I will say I have a bug out vehicle I would like to have, but that I can't justify the purchase of. But for almost 3 years of my life, I drove full size conversion vans,
Okay.
and I would love to have a 4-wheel drive Quigley, which is where they convert like a Ford E350 into being this 4-wheel drive monster, so that you can have full off-road capability, but a 12-passenger vehicle that you can live inside of if you need to. And, I think that would be something worth having in those situations, but not something I can justify on a day-to-day,
Oh, fuck it, man. You buy it and drive it around and impress people or intimidate people. But I think it would be that would be actually cool to see somebody driving around it. It sounds.
You see them out here sometimes.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah. I mean, listen. For me to get something like that, where would I park it here? Right? People would already be annoyed, by the size of this thing, and then it taking up like 3 parking spots.
Yeah, you pay more for your parking than your apartment,
Yeah, you know what? What sucks around here is that they're going in that direction now, where every building that's built has to have a parking lot. So that being said, they want to, like China, they want to make the cars disappear off the streets and put them in parking lots. Unfortunately, areas like this, there's not much we can do with that. Homestead DIY, thank you for the donation, man. I appreciate it. So, what is your prediction for the rest of this year? What do you think is going to happen that might make things worse or make things better?
Well, I mean, it's tumultuous. This year has really, been a rough ride. and I think everybody's trying to get into the next phase. Everyone wants to put everything behind them, but because of that, we're in kind of a rush, and when you rush, you forget things, or you lose your goal, right?
Right.
And I just feel like, obviously the election is a tipping point. And of course, I believe Ruth Bader Ginsburg just passed away. So now the fact that another Supreme Court justice could be appointed is going to be another reason for people to get out and get more vocal about their opinion, right? So I think the election is going to be this inflection point of when people no longer want to put up with the bullshit. And then the problem that we're going to run into is it's also going to kind of meet the pandemic right at a crossroad where the flu season is right in that same period.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of demands from the leadership. There's going to be a lot of enforcement of codes such as, wearing masks and whatnot that even some places haven't had to experience yet. And then I also think that the average person is just getting tired of being told what they can or can't do. So the possibility of lawlessness will be at an all-time high. And I feel like that's where we're heading, is a lot more lawlessness and a lot more chaos, to be honest.
All right, and that sounds about right. The gentleman, yes, alternate side parking here in New York City is insane. It sucks. It's by far the worst. It depends on where you live. Certain areas you have to get up earlier than others. Here you have to be in your car by 9 to get it to the other side of the street, or double park it. Certain areas you don't have to get up to like 1 or noon. Nonetheless, it does suck, and it is time to move because that part blows. Now, moral question, and there's no right or wrong answer to this question. I asked the same thing to the last 3 guests. If you come upon an obvious prepper emergency stash, would you take it or leave it?
Well, I guess it depends on the situation. If you're desperate, you're going to take it because that's just how things are going to work. And especially if it doesn't seem like it's being utilized or forgotten, or the people who put it there aren't there at that point, and you're already in an emergency, you're gonna take it, regardless of what someone says right now in the time of peace. They might tell you, no, I would leave it for the people who put it there because it's wrong to take somebody else's stuff. But in desperate times, you're gonna just fall on something that literally falls into your lap, and you're gonna take it. So will I go out of my way to find other people's caches and try to take them? No. But if it's the difference of, well, we're all gonna die from dehydration, but I just found this stash of water over here. You're gonna access the water,
Right.
And so I just kind of think of that kind of applies to a lot of the other possible equipment or gear you might fall upon,
No, you're definitely right, and that's the thing. Like, one side of me is like, well, if I'm by myself, I'd probably leave it be. But the other side of that coin is if I'm with the kids and they're thirsty and hungry, do you tell them no? Well, wait till we get to point A, or do you take it? And that's the problem, because we're not in that situation. It's easy to say no,
Right.
But I also think it's harder to say yes because we're not in the situation, And I could all but guess what each of us are gonna do if kids are involved,
Right.
But hopefully we'll never have to cross that bridge, right?
Well, and that's the biggest part of preparedness, is not having to worry about other people's stuff because you have what you need.
Right.
And that's, definitely something that a lot of people preach, and of course, a lot of what we do is somewhat in the category of doom and gloom because, well, this is all happening, that's why we have to prepare. But in reality, even if nothing bad ever happens, I'm not going to feel bad about preparing. I'm not going to feel bad that I have the additional stock in order to make it through whatever might happen. So, just my thought, I guess.
No, that's good. So now let's get into more basic questions, not personal, but I guess fun questions. What is your favorite prepper movie?
So, try to ponder that, because I do enjoy watching a good end of the world flick. It's interesting and it's thought provoking. I think movies or video games or entertainment related to like the apocalypse or things like that tend to get a bad rap, because, well, this would never happen, or those people aren't acting like they would, or whatever it might be. But to me, it's almost like a thought lesson. I watch these movies and I think, okay, was that a good idea or a bad idea? Is this a good decision or a bad decision? And so two of the movies that I like, because I think they depict a certain point that a lot of people fail to understand. I like I Am Legend and actually Castaway. Now, Castaway is a little different because it's about a guy who finds himself in a circumstance completely out of his control and only has the supplies that wash up on shore. Whereas I Am Legend has some of the stuff I obviously appreciate, firearms and a little bit of danger in the sense of who knows what's going to happen, right? But both of them did a great job of kind of depicting what happens to a lone wolf survivalist, someone who's by themselves for an extended period of time, and how damaging that can be on the human psyche, and kind of like how they had to develop basically fake imaginary friends in order to get themselves through that situation, or else they wouldn't have made it. And so it's very interesting to me to see how these people have to still have social interaction, even if it's made up, just so that they can make it to the next day. And so that's one of the reasons why, like, those two movies are two of my favorite when it just comes to the idea of like getting thoughts on survival and such.
All right, that's actually that's actually a good answer, because you broke down the parts of what I liked about the movie. It was the psych part, the not the lone wolf who's like A-OK and standing on the top of the building with his AR. He's like psychologically damaged from the situation, losing his wife and kids, trying to come up with this cure and only honing in on that. So that you're right, they did a great job with that. Southern, I'm sure I'm gonna screw, but Southern Prepper Boy, I think it is. Today's his birthday. I keep hearing happy birthday, so happy birthday. If I destroyed your name, I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep up with the comments and listen at the same time. It's worse than what you call it, walking and chewing gum. I swear it is. But so prepper book, your favorite prepper book.
So this is I don't know how many people would consider it a prepper book, but I think it's something that's always stuck with me, and it was actually like a required reading back in grade school, right? But I always kind of think about My Side of the Mountain, right? Because it's about a young person leaving the city to go live in the wilderness on their own, realizing how difficult that is, finding out that they really don't know shit about what they're doing, and then eventually realizing they need their family to be able to still be happy and live like a fulfilling life. And so it was like, I was probably in middle school, I don't know, 12 or 13 years old, but even then it kind of just stuck with me, that whole idea, because like the idea of just going out to the woods and being your own person and not having to worry about the restrictions of society is a concept that's very attractive. But that book did a good job of kind of letting you know, like, first off, it's going to suck. You're going to be terrible at it. Everything's working against you. And then at the end of the day, you're going to be lonely, and you're going to wish that you had a lot of the things that you left behind. And I just feel like that's kind of a good message for, especially for those of us who think that bugging out is the only way. Like leaving the city and going to the wilderness is the answer. It's not always the answer,
Right. My one of my next videos I'm filming next week. It's gonna pertain to bugging out to the woods and being better prepared, or mentally and physically, especially skill wise.
Right. It's I think I watched an episode. I want to say it was of Alone,
right,
where they drop people in the wilderness by themselves, right?
Right.
And I remember it was this one guy only lasted one day, and it was because he's in bear country, and then he finds like a bunch of bear scat and bear prints, and just decides that night, like, never mind, I can't do this, and it just goes to show you, like, until you're actually there and you actually have that fear of knowing that there's a predator right close by that could easily take you out if it wanted to, it changes your thought on like how easy that might be for you. You know.
Right. His whole ideology went right out the window once he started
Yep.
seeing all that. You know, like he became a different dude. He was like, you know what the worst part was? It was like he was talking a lot of shit, and then once he got out there, he was like, "Yo, this shit is real. This isn't TV. This isn't um,
This is
some
a
shit
computer
that I."
game.
Right. He goes, "This shit is real." Mike Malone, the answer to that question, do me a favor and email me at angryprepper@gmail.com. I can answer it better there. Um, not that I don't want to get into it on here. It's just there's a lot to starting your own YouTube channel. But for those of you that are listening, if you guys have skills and you guys have knowledge, start a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That's it, it's simple as that, guys. Get off your ass and make money. Because there's two sides to it. There's making money and there's sharing your knowledge. The sharing your knowledge, I think, is more important, especially if you're spot on. Making money is a bonus. That's all it is. The whatever money I make on YouTube from the ads, it's a bonus, guys. It's I'm not gonna hang my hat on it. It does afford me to do a little more, grow the channel, but it's a bonus. But the knowledge sharing, especially in this day and age, is a must because we have too many stupid people leading us down the wrong path. So take that
Well,
for.
and I'll say, starting a YouTube channel has been one of like the better experiences for me. Just kind of making myself a better person almost from it by having to put myself out there, critiquing myself, accepting all the criticism, and then the other opportunities it opens for you. I've networked with people from around the country now that are all prepared, all have access to different things, including equipment or gear, stuff that they want you to try. Who knows what it is, but it opens a lot of doors, and you do have to put some work into it if you want to succeed and move forward in it, which I think is something a lot of people don't realize. Like, I was on this platform for almost a year before I even was like comfortably over 1,000 subscribers, and it takes a lot of effort to kind of get the ball rolling, but once you get there, it's definitely been a good payoff in the sense of how many people I've gotten to meet and how many opportunities have been presented.
I think, and you're right. You're definitely right. That's the one part I like about this whole thing is meeting different people, talking to different people. Our bad, our I'm pretty sure it's Brad, but our bad. First of all, thank you for the donation. Secondly, shoot me an email. I would definitely like to take you up on that offer, especially if you're nearby. That would be cool. So thank you for the donation and hit me up on angryprepper@gmail.com. We can definitely hash that out a little more. The hell were we just saying? I'm so sorry. I'm starting to.
No, it's fine. We were just talking about YouTube actually. So
Right.
how it's been a good experience.
You know what? It's funny. I've been on YouTube before my channel was deleted. I was probably on YouTube since 2012, 11 or 12, 2010, right? And
Yeah.
right, and that's when I first started, and I just didn't take this seriously. I just, I was just making videos to share my knowledge. Once I found out that there was some money to be made, I'm like, why not, right? And then I took it seriously the last 4 years. But I think I got lucky. I don't, some people will say, well, you put in work in the channel and all this other stuff. I got lucky with the riots and the, the COVID and living in a city where the shit was taking roots.
Yeah.
I think I basically got lucky. And not that I'm riding the wave, but I'm trying to also stay as honest as possible. And that's one thing that people tell me, the honesty. And again, I try to. You have to stay transparent. That's the other thing, guys, about starting a YouTube channel. You have to stay transparent with your YouTube channel because after a while, if you're phony, it comes out. It's the bottom line. If you start taking YouTube classes, for those of you interested, be careful because YouTube wants you to look like a stupid, mindless drone. They want you to smile in front of the camera and go, "Look at me," and it's really sickening. If you are going to be real, be fucking real. That's it. People are gonna like you or they're not. There is a dangerous trend I am seeing on here. Somebody brought it to my attention, and I'm not going to throw these YouTubers under the bus just yet. But I'm seeing a cult like trend starting with certain YouTubers, and I don't like it. Um, my subscribers, they break my balls. They'll make good points. We'll have debates. That's the shit I like. I like people who are going to challenge me. The other shit that I'm seeing is no matter what the YouTuber says, they're shaking their head. Yes, yes, yeah, that's right, man. You right. Yeah, yeah. Almost like they're kissing his ass. It's both of these guys actually, and I do not like it because that sets a bad tone for preppers, especially. I don't care about other YouTubers. I don't care about the mechanics, the photographers, the campers. Don't care about them. Preppers. It looks like there's a two groups growing, and they're turning into cults, if you will. And
Right.
and I think that's very dangerous. Your opinion?
Well, I think that separating different ideologies from advice about staying prepared is always healthy, right?
Right.
I mean, my channel, once in a while I dive into a little bit of the political realm, but only because it applies to what's happening in the world in the sense of staying prepared,
Right.
and only when it has a chance of escalating some of the unrest and everything else that we're all seeing around the country. But I think in general, using a prepper channel as a platform to basically try to spread whatever beliefs or ideology you have is a certain type of tactic that might be frowned upon because people are impressionable, and especially once you grow a certain audience and you grow a certain reputation, people are willing to accept things they might not have before because it's coming from you. And I think that is something that everyone has to be responsible with.
Right, right, very, very much so, and that's why I like my subscribers because I have to say it, my subscribers keep me grounded. I mean, listen, there's never a time where this shit's gonna get to my head. This is fucking YouTube, This is not Hollywood. People do reach out to me, thank you, this, that, and the third, and I got people who are like, listen, man, you're great, this and that, but I disagree with you on this. That's the kind of shit I like, and so it keeps you grounded. It keeps you realistic. People will show you a different point of a different view on their episode after a video I said, and that's what I like. But the whole cult mentality and somebody just said, Be the Light just said, am I really surprised? I'm not surprised, but when you start having your cult like YouTubers bully somebody else or another YouTube channel, that becomes a fucking problem. And I guess that's my bone to pick with the whole thing. I mean, if you're gonna have your minions, that's fine. But once your minions leave the fucking the barn, it becomes a problem. Once they start attacking other people or bullying them, that's an issue. Cats meow. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I can guarantee before the year's over, it's gonna come out. But this message is definitely to those two guys. And I'm pretty sure that there are other guys out there, but I don't need people like that. I need people who, can disagree with me and agree with me. But you can't agree with me on everything I say. That's not good, It's just, it's ugh, I grew up with never kissing anyone's ass, That's probably why I didn't get a lot of jobs when I was younger. Because I never laughed at those stupid boss jokes. They tell you this stupid joke, and you sit there and you sit there and you laugh. You go, ha, ha. I never did that, And there was a lot of jobs I missed out on because I didn't do it. But fuck it, right? You're not supposed to kiss anybody's ass. You're supposed to just be you, And that's what
that works best. And people, I guess one of the best things of advice I've gotten from any YouTube help or anything like that I've had is, people see through your bullshit.
Right.
So if you're not real, you're not going to be somebody anyone can relate to. And then why would they want to, be a part of your community? So.
Right.
I did have a question for you with the different like interviews and the different outlets outlets that have talked to you about prepping, especially being in like a major metropolitan area, like did you feel like they gave you a fair interview, or did you feel like there was some skewed bias there in any way, or did you feel like it was all very kind of straightforward?
As far as like the different medias that interviewed me,
Yeah.
I think one was actually two, because I was on what's that white dude with the fucking white hair, the little guy on CNN with the glasses.
Anderson Cooper.
Thank you. And I was on his daytime talk show when he had the daytime talk show, and we were on the show, and he was trying to be, I guess nice, but it was just the way the interview went that as soon as we got off, the housewife women, I think of New Jersey, those cackling hens, they came on afterwards, and they were like, oh, those people are stupid. Why would they do that? Nothing bad's ever going to happen. Here we are, fucking
Right.
in the middle of Badville. I think a lot of them did good, and they're doing better now. They don't make fun of us as much. But Doomsday Preppers, for example, I think they let us have it.
Big time.
I think me being a fireman helped them not completely destroy me, but I watched a couple episodes afterwards, and they just made everyone else look like a fucking kook. But I do give them a chance, but I also look at their old work before I agree to an interview. If their interview's going to poke fun, there's poking fun, which I'm fine with. There's breaking balls, which I'm fine with, but there's making us look stupid, which I'm not fine with. And those are three different things. You could break my nuts and have fun with it, fine. But if you are gonna sit there and make us look stupid, that's my issue. If you have interviews, I would say for you, just take it for what it is.
Right.
It's you look at their past interviews, you see what they do, and they feel fine with it, then fine.
I actually was reached out to by a local. Local in North Dakota means the entire state.
Okay.
So I was reached out to from a news station, and they want to do an interview. And like for me, one of the red flags was like, "Hey, I wanted to see if I could come see your bunker, right?" And I'm just like, I don't know, man. I was like, let's just not do that.
Well, I would say to you, if you're looking to get the message out there, then you got to navigate what you're going to say, so that no matter how they edit it, they can't. That's
Right.
where you got to be careful, because sometimes they try to have you talk really for a long time, so that they can cut out and make you look like a psychopath, right?
Exactly.
Right. So if you're methodical about what you say, and you're almost like a sniper, there's no way they can edit it to screw you over.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have seen some of those interviews that you did, and I thought they were like well done. But it is interesting because you don't know on the back end like how much was cut and how much was edited, or who knows.
Well, the last few videos or interviews I did, they were pretty good. They were sparing. They didn't they didn't throw me under the bus. So that was pretty good. Again, you got interviews and stuff coming your way, just do it.
Yeah.
Be methodical about what you're gonna say, and you'll be fine, man. You're not again, watching your videos and talking to you beforehand, you're not a stupid guy, so you know what you're gonna say. You know exactly how to attack it. So don't worry about the media trying to throw you under the bus. They're not. You'll be fine.
I will say at the time, my channel and everything wasn't super public necessarily either. So there was a little bit of reservation there because
Okay.
I still have like a job. I'm still in a professional position, and it's one of those things where you don't want to always mix, where you work with where you play, I guess. So.
Right. Right. Someone just asked me, why am I still in New York? A lot of issues right now, but I hate to say this. So last night we got our lease renewal. So they gave us the option of 1 or 2 years. So I told the wife, 1 year and we're out of here. I said, I don't want to hear any ifs, ands, or buts. I don't want to hear we're gone. So unfortunately, she has to stay because of her job. But we spoke about a couple of other things as far as money, and things are getting better financially. I'm hoping in a year she just quits and we can leave. That's the idea right now. The 6 month, what you call it, is no longer. It's back to a year, but we're getting the hell out of here because it's just getting bad. And I think her problem is she's just nervous. She doesn't, not that she doesn't know anything else. She's used to the city, and I've heard a lot of wives that move, who are like city girls who move up there. They're nervous at first. There's some of them are scared, and I get that. So unfortunately, we're here for another year, probably shorter than that, and we'll just pay whatever the fucking rent is, as long as we're somewhere better. But that's what it looks like right now. Plus, again, there's one factor in her job, which I'm not going to discuss. It's holding us back for now. So she's got a year to square it out of way, and we're gone.
Yeah.
So I
Sometimes
wish.
you just got to be where you are,
Right. I wish it was as concrete as just taking up, but it's never that easy. It really isn't. So and that's the other thing. I don't want to be like the gentleman said. He's saying that it's hard to relocate. For me, it isn't, man. I could fuck off with this city. Like, I'm done with the city and its bullshit. So, if we were to leave tomorrow, I'd be fine with it, But her, on the other hand, it's not as clean cut. So we shall see. Hey, Old Mutt, Alan, man, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. I do appreciate the donation again. And hey, Alan, I will be headed up to your piece of land in the next couple of weeks. I want to get some shit done, and I also want to help you out with your land as well. So I will be texting you in the next couple of days. All right? So, if anyone has any questions for Magic Prepper, now's the time to ask. We are at the hour and 6 minute mark, sorry. And if you don't, we're going to wrap it up. And Magic Prepper, when I kill the feed, stay on so I can talk to you a little longer.
Sure, of course.
So
and it's been a good conversation. I feel like you always get different perspectives from all the different people you interact with, and it is nice to have the perspective of someone who's in the middle of an urban environment, but still prepared and still concerned about what they're going to do if something goes wrong.
You know what? It's funny because people. Listen. This is all new. I prepared for this, and a lot of us city preppers, we prepared for this. This shit is still new. This shit's unraveling every day. So, it's one thing for me to sit there and be like, I'm ready, and I am, but I'm not gonna know how ready until the hammer drops. That's the truth about it.
Yep.
Now, Leslie says, what do you say to your kids about prepping? Do your kids know anything about prepping?
The biggest thing that they ask about is the food, right? When they see just stacks and stacks of food on the counter, or they see me vacuum sealing things or whatever it might be, they're always curious. What's going on? Like, why are you making all that food? So I just tell them, it's in case, we ever aren't able to go get food, we have plenty at home. And one piece of advice I got from actually a comment on my channel was, take your kids camping, so that way if you ever do have to leave in an emergency, just say we're going camping, and it doesn't alert them or alarm them or panic them, and it's just like any other trip. We're just going to load all the gear in the car and load everybody up and go on a camping trip. And I thought that was decent advice, because you don't want to panic your kids.
Right.
If you can keep them calm, it's going to do the best for everybody.
Fair enough. River Share, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Thank you again, guys. Thanks a lot for the donation. Abolish crippling ass bloods. What happens to the guardian angels? Michael Vance asks, what happened to the guardian angels? The guardian angels lost their balls years ago. So they're still around, but they're not at the capacity they used to be. And they're not the heavy hitters that I grew up with. There were some dudes in the guardian angels, man. They were like, you didn't want to fuck with them. These new age guardian angels, I have no clue what the hell's up with them. They're not the old school guys, but they're also not enforced like they used to be. And they used to walk through Harlem, tough parts of Brooklyn. These guardian angels, they stay in like the 42nd Street, the tourist areas, because they don't want to get beat up. Listen, and it is what it is. No one really wants to get beat up, but they're not as prevalent as they used to be. Black Slacks, thank you for the donation, man. I appreciate it. Again, guys, we appreciate the donation. Thank you. So, I guess there were a few questions, but I missed them. Did you catch any?
Let's see. I think some people are asking stuff like, do we have any kind of like armor or bulletproof clothing or anything for our kids and spouses? And I mean, I don't. I'll be honest.
Me neither. No, I don't have anything for the kids. I just tell them duck. That's the. I mean, that's the. It's funny. They went to the park during the summer, and it was their first time. Us letting them go to the park by themselves. The park is right across the street. And I told them, I said, if you hear anything go crack or pop, what do you do? They're like, run. I said, no. You stop where you are and you drop to the ground. They're like, okay. And so I asked them again, what do you do? And they go, we drop to the ground. I'm like, good. Godspeed. And they went out to the park, and it was fine, but it's always that horror story that you hear here in the city. The kid that's playing in the park and a stray bullet, and hits them. And I don't want them to live scared either. That's the other side of that coin. So, they go out to the park, and inevitably, fatherhood takes over, and I go downstairs to check on them, and they were fine. It's just that one part of me couldn't let it go. But it's, in regards to bulletproof clothing, I'm not going to get it for them because they grow too fast. That's the problem. You spend all that money for bulletproof clothing, the next month, the next 3 to 6 months, they grew out of it. You're spending another $500 or whatever it is on bulletproof clothing. And Leslie, back to your question, if you're still watching, depends on the kid's ages is what you're going to say to them. It's what you're going to dictate how they receive it. So if you sit there and they're young, you just tell them, oh, this is just in case we have an emergency. If they're older, be honest. Just let them know why you're preparing, but do not sell them the gloom and doom. Sell them we're getting ready just in case this happens. So if this happens, this is why we have this much food, water, medical kit, so you don't have to worry. You explore that side, you should be fine. If you have any other questions, you can reach me at angryprepper@gmail.com, or you guys can reach out to Magic Prepper as well at
gmail.com.
magicprepper@gmail.com. All right, guys? So if you have any questions for either of us, it's magicprepper@gmail.com or angryprepper@gmail.com.
Yep.
All right, so I think we're good just for right now. Yeah, right? I think we're good. So, guys, we are going off the air. Magic Prepper, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, and last question. What time is it out there?
Let's see. So it's 9:15 my time now.
Okay, so it's only
only an hour behind you.
Right. All right. Not too bad. All right. Very good. So, guys, again, thank you for joining us tonight. Magic Prepper, thank you for joining us. And we will see you guys in the next, or I'll see you guys in the next live stream. All right, guys?
Thanks,
Thank you.
Everybody.